What's up, guys? Sorry for the delayed release on this video. This is my second time recording this, as I realized the first time I recorded it, I was echoing for the entirety of the video. Love audio problems. They're literally my least favorite. Anyway, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about how to play an evil PC in D&D 5e. And if you don't know what PC stands for, it stands for player character. So, why would you even want to play an evil character in the first place? How would you do so? And how do you make sure that the rest of your table is also comfortable with you playing an evil character? This is a kind of a controversial topic, and a lot of people have their own opinions on it and what they think. And this is just my personal opinion, and from my experience as a person who has DM'd for evil PCs and also as a person who has played an evil PC at a table before, this is how, what I think is best to go about things. Like I said, this is just my opinion, so feel free to disagree with me, but hopefully you can find some useful tips and advice in this video that help you play a better and more compelling character that you can have fun with, and make sure that the rest of your table is also having fun right along with you. So, number one, the first step, the most important step, is talk to your dungeon master, okay? You need to make sure that your dungeon master knows that this is what you're doing and this is your plan, and that you want to play an evil character. Because if they don't know, then it's going to be bad. Your dungeon master is not your adversary. They are your friend, okay? And not every dungeon master is comfortable DMing for an evil player character, and that's understandable, especially for new dungeon masters. And if they're not comfortable with it, then you have to respect that, okay? Maybe it just means it might not be the table for you, or it might just mean maybe not right now. Okay, so just be patient and, try and talk to them. And you want them to also, be able to be like, see. And you also want your dungeon master to see where you're coming from and understand you too. And like why you want to play a character that might be perceived as evil. So I would also not recommend this for new players of the game. This is something I'd probably recommend for more experienced role players and groups as well, going along with the new dungeon master thing. But maybe if you're a new player and you have a really experienced dungeon master and they're okay with it, go for it. But like I said, it's all about communication. Talk to your DM, and I particularly would recommend that you have definitely some player experience under the belt, because it's not quite the same as just acting, and it's also not quite the same as just like playing an evil character in a game, because you're working with other people, and the character that you create has to be able to work with the other characters at the table. Just because you're playing an evil character doesn't mean that they're an adversarial character. You have to be able to work with your party still, and you can't just go and like fuck up their objectives, because that's not fun. That's not like what you're trying to do, okay? And just because someone is evil doesn't mean that they can't do good either. Like, as you can see, the alignment chart, so the way I use the alignment chart and the way we're going to use the alignment chart in this video is it's fluid. It's not rigid. So like, it's basically just to give you an idea of the sense of morals that your character might have, and just to give them like maybe a general path. But that can change. Your character can grow. They're a person. They're dynamic. They're not a flat static character, unless you want to play them like that. But in this case, we're not really going for that. So like, just because someone is lawful evil doesn't mean that they can't save someone, because it's about their morals. Like, if they have a code that they follow and they're like, well, I can't let this evil happen because of this reason that goes against my personal code, even though I'm okay with doing these bad things, then it kind of works out. You gotta figure out what it works best for you and what works best for your character. Sorry about my model freezing there for a second. So, if we're trying to get like a general idea of what direction to go, we need to think about the world that you're playing in. So, a lot of times it's about perception. And just because you might not see something as evil, the society that you are living in or your character is living in may see that thing as evil. And excuse me. It's really that perception that defines us, which is another reason that it's really important you talk with your DM, because if you're playing, in a maybe like a war-torn country in like a very tribal society, their views might be different than if you're playing in, an uptight like high-end city. Like a society that values honor killings is going to be a lot different than one that doesn't. So, to give you an example, say if your character is from, a small village where they practice honor killings when something happens or someone in the family is perhaps disobedient, and for you, your character sees that, as something that they practice and that that's okay to them because that's how they were raised. But if you go into a different environment and those people see that as murder, you might be perceived as evil even though you may not see yourself that way. And that's why it's all about perception, right? Because your character might not view themselves as evil, but society might. Or it could be vice versa, where you think that, maybe you're doing the wrong things for the right reasons, but society doesn't thinks you're fine, So that's why perception really matters, and that's another reason why it's really important to talk with your DM. And you also have to think about the actions that your character has taken to get to this point. Like, what have they done? Is your character, are they someone who, when they meet the party, they are already evil? They've done bad things. This is them maybe trying to claw their way back to maybe find some sort of salvation within themselves, go on a journey to find themselves, to maybe, relieve some of the pain that they've caused. Or is your character kind of maybe teetering on the line, but by finding the party, then this is what kind of helps send them over the line and send them into a direction. So you also your character has to have a reason to be with the party. Because if they don't, then it might be hard for them to just stay with that party without causing conflict. They're either going to have to start, I would recommend, maybe having them find a goal that they need the party for, that they can't reach this goal on their own and they need help. Or if it's I guess the best way to put this is, if you go into a party with a pre-established relationship, that makes it easier to form other relationships, especially when you're playing an evil character. But also think about the relationships, because just because someone is bad or evil or whatever, that doesn't mean that they don't care about other people. They can still have really strong relationships. And sure, you can go on a murder spree, but that doesn't mean that you don't love the people in your party. And I think those are really important aspects to consider, because again, this character, even though they're bad, they're evil, they have to be able to work with the party, because it's still a collaborative storytelling game at the end of the day, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to tell a story with your friends. You don't want to be fighting, yes, inter-party conflict happens all the time, but you don't want to be fighting over the table saying my character would do this because he's evil, or because she is most. It's not about you. It's about all of you together. And that's what matters. So you also have to find a way to make sure that your character isn't going to be, it's not all about them. And playing it if you're playing an evil character, that can be hard sometimes. And that's why I think you should really flesh them out and their goals and their motivations. Yes, that's harder for a one shot. I don't really recommend playing an evil character for a one shot unless it's an all evil character one shot. But You know, we're really talking about long kind of term, more campaigns, or even just like 3 or 4 shots where you have enough room to like flesh this character out and make sure that they're gonna be okay working with a team. Um, so yeah, does you like just think about, does your character know that they're evil at all? You know, like we talked about that a little bit earlier, but if they think that they're in the right, then um because of just how they view things, or their own moral code, then that might cause conflict in other places outside of the party, and that can make for an interesting story dynamic. So you also have to think about like you know, we did talk about the world around you, but also not just the like society as a whole, but how being evil might affect, you know, close NPCs, or maybe people from your like your backstory. Like how would it affect them too? Like how did your actions in the past or in the present, like what is that going to do to them? And I think that's important because it just helps the character feel more alive. Um so yeah, those are all the kind of main points I have for how to go about playing an evil PC. But really, the most important part is communication. You want to be able to communicate, and I wouldn't keep the fact that you're playing an evil character secret from um the other people at the table. Maybe if their characters don't know, that's okay. But the people at the table that you're playing with, you should tell them. You should tell them that this is what you want to do. Because, you know, if they don't know, it can be hard. And yeah, sure, there's some moral like gray areas, and a lot of, you know, characters in D&D are kind of they're morally gray. And there's exceptions to every rule. Um but I've played a character where she was lawful evil because her current views of society didn't like uh she was from another time pretty much, but her views of society were very much different than the views that society currently held. And because of that, like she was technically considered evil, but she didn't even really like know. And I didn't tell the other people at the table that I was playing an evil character because yes, I know this is a little hypocritical, but she wasn't acting evil outwardly either. So you also have to consider the choices your character is going to make in that sense. Like if you're playing a character that maybe isn't outwardly evil, but you might run into like uh a morally strict like scenario where you're going to have to make a choice and you're going to make a different choice than everyone else, then, you know, that might show them that there's something going on. But if you're going to play like someone that is just straight up like bad, like killing everyone, and, you know, they don't really get along with people, or they're doing crimes all the time, then I definitely do think you need to talk to the players at the table about that, because they might not be okay with that. They might not want to play in a game with a character that's doing those things, and that's understandable. And, you know, you also have to respect the other people at the table and be like, if you all like are agreed that you don't want to talk about your characters and alignments, then that's okay, as long as, you know, everyone's okay with that. The main thing in this game is communication. It's so important. I know I've talked about it and like I've emphasized it so much, but I really can't stress it enough, because there are so many horror stories from people that are just unwilling to communicate with each other. So it's all about, you know, having fun rolling the dice and communication. All right. So I hope you guys have fun. I hope you guys make some really cool, fun, and evil characters. Um, if this video gets I don't know 20, is that too much? I don't know. If this video gets 15 likes, then I will do a follow-up video on making some evil character builds. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Bye.